Sunday night, around 9 o'clock, a birthday party is wrapping up right here. That's when police say 2 men with guns start shooting. Their bullets hit this home here behind me several times. You can see some of the bullet holes right here. Seems like a mistrust in the community. How do you guys move forward? What are the tangibles? How do you kind of break that barrier?
I wouldn't say mistrust.
Imagine going to work and getting a notification on your phone and seeing this. Strangers in your home stealing from you. Well, that's exactly what happened to Lisa West. Let me show you guys. We got so much stuff happening right here, like this right here. This. It's slippery, it's freezing over, and as fun as it is to slide on the sidewalk, it will be not as much fun to drive on these streets. But what shoppers are telling me is they're just now running out of the groceries they got 2 weeks ago when we had our last storm. Only an issue with space here. The Public School Forum says there are 4,000 physical education jobs as well as art jobs. But breaking into these cars, stealing things like cash, credit cards, and even cell phones. For many, sweet potato season is how they make their living. On Dupree Farms, dozens work picking potatoes, so your Thanksgiving spread is complete. But the employees aren't the only ones out here in the fields.
See this lady right here?
Yes, sir.
I don't know who she is. She's out there just picking them up. Didn't ask me anything.
Roger Dupree of Dupree Farms says back in the day, a scarecrow was enough to keep unwanted guests off his crops. Now the times are changing.
You see potato fields beside the road, that don't mean they're free.
In the short while I was on Dupree's field, he had to scare off several different people. He tells me he can understand when people take the potatoes to eat for themselves, but in some cases, people are loading up their own trucks to sell them.
They had 4 or 5 big bags in the back of that truck. We worked hard. We worked ever since last spring, setting these things out and all, and it's all our work, you know, to put them in the field.
Dupree tells me it happens so often, he can't even be sure how much money he's losing. Price loss aside, Dupree tells me one of the biggest concerns is the liability of people on his property.
Somebody could fall and break their leg, and then they'd be blaming me because there's a hole out there or something.
When a 40-pound box of sweet potatoes goes for $12, Dupree tells me it's much easier and safer just to buy the potatoes from them. In Harnett County, AJ Janavel for CBS, North Carolina. Sean, they better have another snow day because it's still snowing here. And to add insult to injury, just about an hour ago, it looked like it had cleared up, and now it's coming down as hard as ever. But you know what? Even though it's still snowing, even though it's still cold, it's not keeping these students in their dorms or their apartments. They're excited. They're out here. And you know what? Businesses are still open too. This, though, is not what we saw across the entire triangle. It's much different in other parts of our area.
I've got snow in my boot.
What's a snow day without some good old-fashioned sledding? And that's exactly what kids did in Cary.
So over here we have like this ramp.
Doesn't look like much of a ramp to me, Graham. It kind of looks like a bump.
I mean, it keeps on getting like destroyed every time we go down.
But Graham Oaf and his friends still were able to get the most out of their bump. More than I could. However, a lot of work had to get done too. 250 Town of Cary employees worked morning, noon, and night to clear the roads. But that's not an invitation to go get in your car.
Stay off the road, let us do what we need to do.
In Raleigh, people still use the roads, just not the way you'd expect.
There's no cars on the street and there's less snow in the middle of the street, so I figured, and also all laws are off bound once it snows, you know?
Well, I don't know about that. But Manahil Amin isn't from Raleigh, so things may be different in Washington, D.C., where she lives. Laws are still on, but some things in Raleigh are off.
We don't have power at our house, so I was on this mission to get food for my roommates and I.
So they sent the person who doesn't live in Raleigh out to get food.
Yeah, I realized this afterwards, but I like the snow. I haven't left the house all day.
Amin raced back home so her takeout food wouldn't get cold. She promised me she wouldn't break any laws on the way. And as this snow keeps falling onto the ground, it's creating an issue, and it's this. It's slippery, it's freezing over, and as fun as it is to slide on the sidewalk, it will be not as much fun to drive on these streets. But you know what is fun? All these guys just found out they don't have school until at least Friday. Reporting live here in Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Janavel for CBS North Carolina.
I'm going door to door and I'm begging for money so I don't have to resort to robbery.
A week ago, several neighbors along Carroll Street say this man knocked on their door, panhandling. They tell me when reports came out of Rollin Owen's arrest this past Tuesday, they knew it was the same person.
It was the picture of the guy that had ended up holding up that family and forcing them to take him to Target to do some shopping.
And you're sure of that?
110%. That was the person.
Pretty much dropped down on the floor because I knew that he was the person that came to my house.
These two neighbors asked to keep their faces hidden. They tell me after the panhandling incident in their neighborhood, they started calling the police, got nowhere.
When did you hear back from police?
Never.
At all?
Nope.
I let them know also that we had, video camera footage of somebody, because I was just trying to, help them put connections together if there was things that were going on. Yeah. And we still have not heard back.
Instead, they learned of the Birch Avenue Park incident. They say not from police, but through social media posts on a community watch site. They say they're concerned how police chose to handle this situation and think some of the families could have been spared if the information was put out sooner.
I feel they dropped the ball on this. I had a good description of this man who ended up doing these crimes on Thursday.
We had tried to do something about it, and there was another family that was hurt by the police inaction.
The flames may be out, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Firefighters say they will be out here on scene for hours. The family tells me they're thankful they weren't home. Laying on the ground, not moving. Neighbors say they were unsure if Baxter would live.
And they put the breather on the dog. That just broke my heart. I hope the dog makes it.
But then the little dog started to stir.
Did you guys just save that dog?
Actually, the fire department did.
Margie Jones lives next door. She tells me she was the one who told firefighters there were dogs in the home.
I knew they had animals, and I was worried about the animals.
Battalion Chief David Hargis tells me when they found out little Baxter was still breathing, firefighters did everything they could to keep the dog alive.
The pets become a priority for us too, and we render as much aid as we can.
The family was not present at the time and arrived home to this scene in their front yard. Firefighters were able to save the family's 2 dogs. The family tells me 3 of their cats died, and now where a family once called home is destroyed. They tell me it will be difficult, but they will be okay. And again, no one was home during the fire and no people were injured. Firefighters tell me that they will be here through the night trying to determine what caused this fire. Reporting here in Fayetteville, I'm AJ Janavel for CBS North Carolina. Standing right here on the edge of flooding on West 5th Street in Lumberton, and this floodwater actually stretches about 3 miles down that road. In some cases, it gets as deep as a few feet. And in that stretch of 3 miles of flooding, there's hundreds of people whose lives have been destroyed by this water. This is a road. The only way you can really tell is by seeing what's been left behind.
This is just awful. The elderly that's been here all their life and to lose their homes, it's really sad.
I'm 45 and I've never seen it flood like this in this area.
Eddie Williams owns a business along West 5th Street. He did his best to get everything out.
28 years of stuff, man.
Williams and his 4 employees made their way back and forth through the water using tables from a flea market as a makeshift bridge.
Trying to save the tattoo shop, man. Trying to get everything out of it so that we can continue to make a living for these guys that work for me.
But Williams and his girlfriend were able to save something else. This dog, Coco, was trapped in the floodwaters since Friday. They got her back to her owner.
Yeah, I thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie.
Yeah, I thank you.
And all of this was with the help of Sean Wagner, who lent not only himself to carry supplies back and forth, but his massive tow truck. Wagner has been making this run through the feet of floodwaters since Saturday.
We we had a truck that can get through the high waters, so we were loading people up in their cars and trying to get them out of here.
He tells me he saved at least half a dozen people from their flooded cars. And days later, he's still out helping people get to their businesses and pull cars out of the water. I also spoke to law enforcement and officials today who were also on these waters out saving people. I spoke to a crew out of Charlotte who was working with a Swift water crew. They tell me they're going to be back out here Thursday morning around 7 in the morning, and if they need be, head back out on these floodwaters. Reporting here in Lumberton, AJ Janavel for CBS North Carolina.